Crypto executives are in the nation's capital, and PayPal's bringing some new crypto features to market. Hey there, it's Jenny Horn here. Welcome to Crypto Corner. Let's now bring in Nate Peterson, Director of Derivatives Analysis at the Schwab Center for Financial Research. So Nate, welcome back. Let's get caught up here and really provide us with your recent technical takeaways on Bitcoin and, of course, Ethereum.
Yeah, hey Jenny, for sure. Yeah, let's go to the charts. Let's first start with Bitcoin. It did recently, roughly 2 months ago, make a new all-time high. But if you look at the price action, so we're still in an uptrend. It's still bullish. We still have, many of the fundamental backdrops that are supporting potentially a higher Bitcoin price in the future. But it looks like it's kind of languished a little bit here over the past couple of months. And one would think with all of these Bitcoin treasuries, with potentially more acceptance and adoption from institutions, from corporations adding it to their balance sheet, from retail investors potentially accumulating, etc., that it would be a clear signal to move higher. And we have moved higher, but it's just recently stalled here. And if you look at what some of the altcoins have been doing, perhaps we're in an altcoin season here, which means that Bitcoin establishes a new high and it goes through this period of consolidation or relative underperformance. And if we can turn over to a chart of Ethereum, Ethereum has certainly been one of those relative outperformers, one of those altcoins that looks better than Bitcoin, at least from a shorter term perspective here over the past 90 days or so. Ethereum ran up to its prior all-time high of roughly 4,900, which it hit in November of 2021. Unsurprisingly, you get that knee-jerk reaction. It backed off. Ethereum has been doing some kind of back and fill, some consolidation of its own. It looks like 4275 is roughly that support level where it has found that bid support. And, when you go up and you challenge a prior all-time high, it's not uncommon that you might get one or two attempts to kind of break through that ceiling, so to speak. So right now, Ethereum actually looks a little bit better than Bitcoin on a relative basis over the past couple of months. If, of course, it can break out into space, meaning it makes a new, fresh all-time high. And some technicians like to look for a little bit of stability or a couple of, you don't really have closes with Ethereum, but you would look for some validation that you're not going to get a head fake if you make a new high and then revert. So you may give it a little bit of time to make sure that break is clean. But obviously, if you make new, fresh all-time highs with Ethereum here, then that is technically bullish. You don't really have a lot of tools to kind of extrapolate just how high the price can go. You can do a Fibonacci extension is one tool that you can use where you measure the distance between, its prior base and then the all-time high of 4,900 and then do an extension. You can do, up to 160%, you can go 150%, et cetera. There's some ways where you can at least come up with some means of trying to at least extrapolate where it might go. But what I think is going on with Ethereum, it could just be alt season, which occurs historically every once in a while, but it's also perhaps with the stablecoin legislation that passed, the wider adoption of stablecoins, knowing that Ethereum, over 50% of the stablecoins are utilizing the Ethereum network. And then if we could also go to a chart of Solana, another altcoin that is also getting close to its prior all-time high of roughly $250. So Solana is faster than Ethereum. It's cheaper than Ethereum. However, on the Ethereum side of the equation, there's a lot of developers that support, of course, this network, and they are looking to upgrade their speed, lower their cost to be more competitive with Solana. But I think that the point is that this fundamental backdrop with the stablecoin usage, the utility of these networks with stablecoins is likely benefiting the price of these two coins in particular. And then I'll just talk seasonality. So we've got Q4 coming up, which historically has been a good time for cryptocurrencies. We have an FOMC meeting today. Of course, as we play this, we're on Wednesday, the 17th right now. We haven't gotten to our FOMC meeting, but if the Fed is to move into a rate cutting cycle, that could be a boon. If we're in altcoin season, meaning a period of relative outperformance for anything that's not Bitcoin, this could translate into higher prices for Ethereum and Solana, but we need new fresh highs on a technical basis in order to kind of validate this recent move that we've been seeing to the upside.
Hey, we've definitely been busy. So we know that Strategy's Michael Saylor is, of course, one of these crypto executives working with Congress on this strategic Bitcoin reserve. So what's the latest with that? And give us some further details on this, Bitcoin reserve and some updates we're getting from these major executives.
Yeah, no doubt. So this was yesterday. A number of crypto execs from Marathon, Riot, etc. Of course, Michael Saylor, kind of the captain of the ship, so to speak. Showing up in D.C. Looking at this Bitcoin Act legislation, which would be essentially an extension from the announcement back in March to President Trump announcing the establishment of a Bitcoin strategic reserve, which essentially moved the Bitcoin in ownership that had been seized prior and reclassifying it, so to speak, as a strategic asset. So this Bitcoin Act, should it get some traction and get bipartisan support, it looks like some of the deals or some of the details of this act might include purchasing 1 million Bitcoin over the next 5 years. That's a lot, Jenny. We're talking about, roughly 5% of the total supply of Bitcoin, if that were to be approved and if that were to be something that they committed to. Having said that, I think that, given what's been going on with all of the budget deficits and of course the fiscal deficit, and we're actually looking to get funding here in Congress again. We're going through another debt ceiling debate, so to speak. It may be kind of difficult to get this passed, to say, okay, we're going to cut some funding here because this is about budget neutral fiscal ownership here of when we look at acquiring Bitcoin. Something might need to be rearranged or reduced in order to fund the purchase of Bitcoin, which might be a little bit difficult to get bipartisan support on. But every move in this direction, should the U.S. at some point pass this bill, and they are able to acquire Bitcoin and put it on the balance sheet, the U.S. has said, hey, we're going to hold this Bitcoin as we do with gold in Fort Knox, and we're not going to be selling it. This, number one, would reduce supply, of course. Like I said, 5% of the total supply of Bitcoin. That would be significant over 5 years. But then also this could send a signal to other central banks that they might follow suit and then begin to look to acquire Bitcoin of their own. Should that trajectory play out, of course, that one would presume that would be bullish for Bitcoin prices.
Oh, absolutely. And it does feel like, as far as the headlines go and these developments we've seen, it's definitely been no shortage of news. We got an interesting headline from PayPal now rolling out a new crypto peer-to-peer payment feature. So walk us through that story.
Yeah, no doubt, Jenny, especially this year in terms of if you want to look for crypto-related headlines. I mean, you just have a Capricornia to choose from of just so many various aspects of Web 3.0 that are going on in so many companies that are getting involved in IPOs on the IPO front, et cetera. So yes, PayPal has been relative early adopter of crypto. Back in 2020, they announced that you can buy cryptocurrency through their platform. They've announced their own stable coin. I think that was in 2023. Here, it's another announcement around basically helping or to the facilitation of transfer of crypto assets between friends and family. So this would be outside of the taxable event. And, I think, Jenny, one of the this in and of itself is just an incremental step in terms of wider adoption of crypto within the digital economy. But it's not that significant in and of itself. But what it does highlight is, I think, when we're talking about cryptocurrency as an investment and just holding it or trading it, that's one aspect. But as a currency and as a means of payment, I think that what this highlights is I feel like the need to have the taxable events around essentially all cryptocurrency transactions are going to really limit the widespread use of crypto as a payments means. Now, Cynthia Lummis, she's a big senator that is a backer of crypto. She was involved with yesterday's discussion on the Bitcoin Act, and she is looking to propose legislation that would have a de minimis exemption for crypto transactions that are under $300. So should that also, that's more crypto-friendly legislation that's getting potentially pushed through, should that occur, that would be a big step, I believe, in validating crypto as or at least facilitating, making it easier for consumers to use crypto in their day-to-day life so that they don't have to worry about that taxable event. So, look, it's nice to have this new P2P, peer-to-peer feature, links from PayPal, but really, if we're going to talk about cryptocurrency as a means of payment on a daily basis by your average consumer, the taxable situation really needs to be resolved. So we'll keep an eye on that legislation as well.
Yeah, and we will definitely be watching, as of course September historically a weaker month for even Bitcoin, Ethereum, but it hasn't really fared that way so far, so perhaps not as bad as what was feared. But so appreciate it, Nate Peterson, for the insight. That'll do it for us today for Crypto Corner. Be sure to subscribe to the Schwab Network YouTube page to catch up on all of our market coverage. I'm Jenny Horn. Thanks for tuning in.